Guys, today we're going to talk very briefly about using diagrams to answer percent questions. And the I can statement we're working on is I can model a percent on a grid or diagram. So let's recall what we know about ratio tables from our last unit. They have a pattern, and that pattern is multiplicative. So if we had the problem, Sadie had chocolate cake at her birthday party, 20 people at the party had a piece of chocolate cake. This represents 50% of the people at the party. How many people attended the party? Well, let's look at this table. I know from the problem that 20 people at the party ate cake, and those 20 people are 50%. Whoops. So I can write 20 for 50% in this problem, or in this table. 0% then would be, if 0% of the people had chocolate cake, that would be 0 people. So the question really is, can we fill in this table? And if so, how could I use that to answer this question? So let's first look and say, how do I get from 50 to 25? Well, I divide by 2, which means I'm going to take 20 and divide that by 2, which gives me 10. So 25% of the people, sorry about that, 25% of the people is 10 people represent 25% of the people at the party. Now I see a pattern, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and once I've filled in the table, I can now say that 40 people represent 100% of the people at the party, so there were 40 people at the party. Now let's take it out of the table and make a grid. So let's look at this problem. There are 20 sixth graders in the Future City Club. This represents 10% of the whole class. How many students are in the sixth grade? So I want to know how many students make up 100% of the sixth grade. And I can do this by making a diagram. And a diagram looks a lot like a number line, where over here we have 0% of the students, and all the way at the right-hand side we have 100% of the students. Okay, so I know that 10% of the students is 20 students. So I can make a diagram. 10% is 20 students. So, and 0%, that's 0 students. And what I want to know is how many students make up 100% of the class. So let's count by 10% up to 100. So here's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90%. And I can fill this in. 40%, 50%, 60, 70%, 80%, and 90%. So 10 times 2 is 20, so 20 times 2 is 40. And now I've got my pattern. I went from 0 to 20 to 40. Then I say 60, 80, because I'm counting by 20 each time. 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. So I can say there are 200 sixth graders. Let's try this one. A student earned a grade of 80% on a math test that had 20 problems. How many problems on the test did the student answer correctly? So here, I'm going to draw a diagram again. I know that if this student got 100%, they would have gotten 20 out of 20 because there were 20 problems. So 100% is 20 problems. And again, I know that 0% would be 0 problems correct. So let's pick a number. Since I don't know what times 80 will give me 100, let's pick a number I do know that's a factor of 80 and 100, like 20. let's set up our diagram so that it goes in the pattern going up 20% each time. And I know to get from 100 to 20, I need to divide by 5. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. Now here's my pattern. 0, I'm counting by 4s, 8, 12, 16, 20. And when I look at 80%, that's 16 problems. So this student got 16 problems correct. So if I look at the last problem, I knew my starting point here. And I was able to count by that number or that percent up to 100 and also find my pattern. But in the second problem, I was given 100% of the problems on the test, 20. And I had to go backwards and try to recreate the diagram counting by the same number of percent to get to 100, which would include 80. Try this one. At a sale, shirts were sold for $15 each. $15 each was 80%. So $15 is 80% of the original price. What is the original price? Pause the video and give this problem a try. Okay, let's check your work. The first thing you should have done was drawn a diagram where we have 0% here, which means it would be $0, and 100%, which we don't know, but we want to know. But we do know 80%. 80% is $15. Okay. So let's go backwards. To get from 120, we're counting by, or 100 to 80, we're counting by 20. So let's go 60%, 40%, 20%. My diagram isn't spaced out, but that's okay. All right, so I don't know how to get from 80 to 60, but I do know how to get from 80 to 40, and I also know how to get from 80 to 20. Let's go from 80 to 40, okay? So to go from 80% to 40%, I would have to divide by 2, which means here I would have to divide by 2 again. And 15 divided by 2 is $7.50. Okay, so now let's go. How do I get from 40 to 20? Well, I would divide by 2 again. So $7.50 divided by 2 is $3.75. So now I know I'm counting by $3.75. So 375 plus 375 is 750. 750 plus 375 is 1125. 1125 plus 375 is 15, and 15 plus 375 is $18.75. So the original price was $18.75. We're done with this video. You can go back and watch any portion of the video as many times as you need to, or you can watch the whole thing, but don't forget WSQ in your notes.